I am biologically male and I call myself a man, but I mostly identify that way because that is what people call me and that is how I get treated in the world. I do not have any innate sense of my own gender. I have mild body dysphoria at times. I often feel a bit uncomfortable about how big I am physically, but nothing major that causes me problems. If I try to identify anything internally that feels male, I cannot. I am not a very stereotypical man in terms of my behavior or interests, but I am also not predominantly feminine in my interests and behavior. I would say it is about half and half. I have male and female friends, but I often feel quite disconnected from other men and generally prefer the company of women. I am interested to hear from men who have a strong internal sense of their own masculinity or identity as a man, and to better understand what that might feel like. I understand that might be challenging to describe. Story 1. I've had this discussion with quite a few younger people, including my own niece. I am in my mid to late 30s. Never once in my life have I wondered if I am a man, a woman, or anything in between. Not even for a second. What does it feel like to be a man? Who knows? What does it feel like to be a woman? Who knows? I only know what it feels like to be me. I am me, and that is all that matters. Why do primarily younger people concern themselves with feeling like something? Why do you need to label yourself? Stop wasting your life and time confusing yourself trying to figure out what you feel like and just be you. The definition of a man will vary between individuals. The definition of a woman will vary between individuals. Just be you. Story 2. I am biologically male and I call myself a man. I think that is all there is to it. I have never thought of any internal identification, nor have I ever heard of any man thinking that. Story 3. Funnily enough, it sounds like you are doing the most manly thing ever by being yourself and not conforming to whatever your local society says being a man should be. Story 4. I don't think I'm a man. I think of myself as a person who does whatever he wants. I only use he/him pronouns because that is what I was trained to use. Masculinity varies throughout the centuries, so rather than having an innate sense, I just accepted the fact that I am a man. Also, I prefer the company of women over men. Story 5. The inherent issue with gender is that there is no objective answer. Historically, man has meant dressing or acting masculine, being biologically male, and often being attracted to women. All of these came as a package. There have always been people who deviated from this, but only recently have we begun to understand the nuances through language. I am a transgender man, meaning I was born biologically female. For me, I am a man because I want my body to be male, and culturally, someone with a male body is considered a man. I have been on testosterone for a decade, had surgery to remove my breasts, and blend in like any other man. If I only wanted to dress masculinely, I would have stayed a butch-presenting woman. But when I tried that, it still felt awful because I hated the way my body looked. Really, all I cared about was being male physiologically, but I call myself a man because that is how I am treated by the world. I do not know if I have an internal man feeling, just a strong male feeling for my body. Overall, I do not think there is a way to define what a man or woman is because they are categories defined by stereotypes. Obviously, biological sex is not so mutable, but acting like a man, dressing in men's clothing, liking beer, leading with your shoulders, being dominant, has nothing to do with anatomy. It is social. Good luck figuring this out. I can relate. It is a mess. Sincerely, a psychology of gender teacher who struggles with this topic every year. Story 6. I do not know what it would feel like to not feel male. It is part of everything I do, really. I cannot answer you because I have nothing to compare it to. A fish does not know what it means to be wet. You need to find someone who has experienced both states. Story 7. Honestly, I have no idea how to answer this because anything I can say as a strong sense of identity is something a woman can feel too. For example, it feels strong to hit a heavy deadlift personal record, to protect and comfort your child or spouse, or to defeat someone in a combat sporting event. However, those same experiences and associated feelings can be had by a woman. If you are really unable to shake the feeling that something is not quite right, and being labeled as another gender would give you some peace, then by all means make that change. But if you are not experiencing any real gender dysphoria, and this is basically just wondering for the sake of wondering, I would say do not overthink it. Story 8. Full disclaimer. I do not really have an innate sense of being a man, at least I do not think I do. I am telling this story because it is about my perception of my own manhood. I presume most cisgender men do not have this kind of experience, or maybe it is common. I am not speaking for all cisgender men. For the longest time, basically the first 2 decades of my life, I was very much like this too. I have always outwardly identified as a boy or man, but never felt strongly about it on an internal level. I generally agreed more with the sentiment that I am not a woman than that I am a man. I had some body dysmorphia as a teenager, but as I lost weight, it lessened, and I started to like my body more and more. Recently, it has gotten to the point where sometimes I can actually perceive myself as desirable, which is a huge improvement for me. The physically masculine features of my body have never bothered me. Things such as my facial hair, androgynous hair, and the size of my body, I am 6 feet tall and weigh 190 pounds, have all been things I was very comfortable with. In fact, I have actually desired to have such masculine features since I was 13 or 14, though it did not have anything to do with the masculinity of those features. I just wanted to have them. Being called a boy or man has never bothered me. In fact, I love being called sir. Something about being called that word makes me very happy. While I definitely did not shy away from things that would be called masculine, there were interests that I liked that, while I did not perceive them as feminine, I knew they were associated with femininity, such as reading romance, trying to mediate problems, and generally preferring hobbies that are absent of competition. However, I did not perceive myself as feminine for enjoying them, though neither did I view myself as particularly masculine for enjoying more stereotypically masculine hobbies. I was very much not a man's man. I did not enjoy talking about sports or girls or any of that stuff with my male friends or with anyone, for that matter. Very recently, like the last 20 months or so, I felt self-compassion for the first time in what seems like forever, and for a moment I saw what I presumed was some part of my inner psyche looking at me and smiling, as if I had finally learned something about myself for the first time. This inner psyche manifested as an old, bearded man clad in plate armor, and he had the kindest smile on his face. The kindness and compassion I could feel emanating from him brought me the purest tears of joy I have ever felt in my entire life. In that moment, I was truly happy with myself. Even to this day, when I think about it, it brings a tear to my eye. Thus, I saw that if my inner psyche was a man, then I must be a man too. That is why I now see myself as a man, not just to others, but to myself as well. I do not understand how my mind connected self-compassion to masculinity, but it is fine with me. I feel like I understand myself better than I did when I was 15, which brings me a great deal of comfort to finally be able to really know who I am. I am not sure if this is actually some subconscious sense of being a man that finally manifested, or if it is something else. I just do not know at what point it stops being innate and starts being something else, and I am not sure anyone could ever explain it to me. Oh well. Story 9. For me, it mostly manifests when I watch Indiana Jones. I see that guy and I think, hell yeah, be like that guy. Story 10. I guess the only thing I can say is that it just feels natural. I have never questioned the fact that I am a man or the body I am in. I am not particularly tough or stereotypically male, but I see that as just my character rather than questioning my gender. Story 11. I have a strong desire to engage in traditional masculine activities. I want to have intimate encounters. I secretly believe I could survive alone in the woods, which is not true. I feel an overwhelming urge to solve problems for people. Story 12. To me, there isn't really an innate feeling. I have a strong need to nurture, but that doesn't mean I feel like I am a woman. It's a human quality. We just have habits that are common among men and women. I grew up in an environment where women were providers and men were also providing but more nurturing. Even women were more abusive than the men I have met in life. To me, that shows that what feels like being a man or woman is something we decide in our own minds. I do feel like I am a man based on how I was raised and how I am treated. But an innate feeling, to me, is only testosterone, which is based on physical body needs. We like to equate feeling like a man with personal accomplishments like getting buff, building things, breaking things, dumb stuff like that. that all starts from a need to do something. So I guess now that I am talking about it, the innate feeling of a man is to do something, anything physical, fix, or make happen. I would assume for a woman it would be to talk about what needs to be done, how, and what could be. But even then, I don't fully believe that. Story 13. I literally never think about my gender unless prompted somehow. That is how innate it is. It is like breathing. It is a constant for me, but not one that I even need to consciously think about. Story 14. I know I am a man because I am male. That is really it. I do not have a strong feeling of manliness. There are moments when I feel masculine, and other moments when I feel feminine. When I do activities that raise testosterone, like heavy lifting, I feel masculine. If I am walking down the beauty products aisle or gossiping with female friends, I feel feminine. I cannot say for certain though. All I know is that most people are capable of feeling both masculine and feminine. Story 15. When I think about this, it is responsibility, ownership of things you do, good or bad, and a responsibility to protect people around you. Story 16. Stands naked in front of the mirror, looks up, looks down, has penis, has testicles, is male, beats chest and grunts, goes to work to provide food and shelter for family. Story 17. I think innately it makes sense to me because of all the wars I have been through. I developed a condition called hydrocephalus, water on the brain, a hole in my heart, and multiple seizures in the incubator, and I survived. I grew up with learning difficulties, was bullied for the size of my head, and was projected with poor grade outcomes, but I overcame all of that. I have been down and out and rallied back many times. I am an extremely caring and compassionate person who is strong and able to be himself. I think it has been a real struggle for me and everything I have been through, but I know right now I feel more of a man than I ever have because I am able to be myself. Although women may not really know about me, I know that I would do everything I can to be who they need if they need someone with a blazing inferno for a life force. I used to think I was not good enough for women, but I think life is trying to say there are not women good enough for me. I know this point sounds like arrogance, but when I am as genuine, upfront, kind, caring, and straight up real as I am, then anyone less than that is not for me, and my life informs me of this. Story 18. I have always struggled with masculinity and felt that I did not match the stereotypical male role. It can be difficult, but if you focus on being a good person, it does not matter what society thinks. Lift weights, have a beer, and build something, then see how you feel. Story 19. It is like asking what people with 2 legs feel about having 2 legs. The only ones who are constantly reminded, who have to understand and rationalize their leg situation, are those who do not have 2 legs. Story 20. Things are as complicated as we make them. I do not believe humans are that special. In the end, we are animals like any other. To be a true man, all it takes is to be born as one. No other description is required. Just be born with XY chromosomes. Everything else is made up and can change over time. Story 21. It sounds like you aren't very masculine, which is okay. For most, it's a deep-seated sense of self-confidence, determination, humility, and positive self-image. You feel more aligned with dominant and protective roles and naturally steer towards or fill those roles. It feels very secure in oneself and unapologetically so. Feels strong too. I don't know if this helped imagine it at all. I've never tried answering a question like this, but am doing my best. Story 22. Your post clearly expressed my internal experience. I also observe the men around me who appear comfortable being masculine and sometimes feel a bit of envy. Story 23. I do not have an innate sense of being a man. I have an innate sense of who I am. It is not as if I go around thinking, oh boy, I am a real man here. Look, everyone. I am a man. I do not feel anything like that. I just feel like the person that I am. I am very attracted to my beautiful wife and I enjoy being intimate with her. By all reports, she is also attracted to me and enjoys being intimate with me. I do not know if I feel masculine or feminine. I just feel like myself. There are men who are much more macho than I am, and there are men who seem more effeminate, but none of that matters to me because how other people are has very little to do with my own sense of self. I am simply me, nothing more, nothing less. Story 24. I have a similar experience in not being a stereotypical man in some of my interests and choice of friends, but I have never thought to question it. I do not know how to describe feeling like a man. I just am. What sparked this question for you? Story 25. Not really an answer to your question, but this is something I struggle with as well. I do not really feel anything on the inside. However, I do know that I would rather be a man than a woman. If there was a world where it was possible to be assigned neutral at birth, I might have wanted that. Story 26. Stereotypical man, there it is right there. You don't have to like sports and grills to be a man. I've known men from many backgrounds who all act very differently. You don't need an innate sense of being a man to be a man. You just are, for better or worse. The best thing you can do for yourself is to learn, at the very least, how to not care as much about what others think of you. If there is no enemy inside, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Story 27. 7:30 a.m. The lions yawn. I run on primal roar first that echoes through my apartment walls. Story 28. First and foremost, I consider myself a human being, a person with everything that comes with it. Being a man comes second to that. Being a man is not a feeling to me. I do not feel it. I just am. It is like asking, how do I feel about having black hair? I do not feel it. I just am. Story 29. I don't have any innate sense of my own gender. Most don't. It's just that people have talked so much about energies and feelings that are so vaguely defined that now they are confused. Feel secure in their masculinity is a classic example of claiming authority on what masculine is, without directly stating it, making it difficult to reject without being called rude or judgmental, adding little value to a conversation. Is a man who prides himself on having forged a great life for himself insecure when he wants a prenuptial agreement? Or is he simply staying consistent in defining the framework under which he wants to live his life? The terms secure and insecure are very vague already. Now there is an added layer of being secure in something, a descriptive term for a sum of traits and behaviors with a vague layer of loosely defined social aspects on top, which are also subject to change over time. This is not helpful. And if you think, what's that got to do with my issue? Exactly. It is all just synapses reinforcing each other while life continues around you. Most people don't care if the things they do daily are seen as masculine or not. They have far more important things to worry about and care about. Masculinity is not a status bar in the bottom left corner of your screen in a survival game. It is a biological descriptive term that, outside of medicine, is not all that important. Story 30. At its core are your most fundamental values. How well can you live by those values? Or do you lack integrity? Do you believe in honesty as a value? Then how often do you lie and how do you feel about it when you do? Especially the harmless lies that enable you to avoid some embarrassment while not affecting others. Being a man is not about liking sports or having high testosterone. It is the act of truly being who you say you are. If you say you are going to do something, you do it. Nuif, ond, orbu. Story 31. I'm pretty sure most people feel exactly the same. I almost never think of myself as a man first. I only think that way when it is relevant to whatever is happening. Most of the time, I am simply me, and that is that. So if you think something is broken with you, it is not because inherently feeling that way is uncommon. You do not have to fit into any boxes to be a man. You can just be you. Story 32. It is common for heterosexual males to prefer the company of women over men, in my opinion. It feels somewhat homosexual when a group of traditional male types are spending time together all the time. That does not mean I want to go shopping, though. Story 33. A man provides. A man steps up. A man protects. A man works hard. Sounds like it is time for you to man up. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.